In today's reading with the feeding of the 5,000, two very common teachings that would be easy topics for a homily on the feeding of Jesus would be its relationship with the Holy Eucharist. That's one easy one. The feeding of the 5,000 is foreshadowing Jesus feeding us today with his body and blood. We who hunger, we could even speak about how we hunger in the world and like people in the desert and in deserted places, how they hungered for the Lord, and you hunger, and Christ comes and feeds you. So that's an easy connection. Another easy connection, which I've even preached on many times myself, and I'm sure you've heard 1,000 times, is the connection that we could offer God very little, and he's not outdone in generosity. He could ask for just so little, 5 loaves and 2 fish, right? It's all he needed, and he could feed 5,000. Therefore, just like a little voice is all you need, and God will do something with it. That's all. So after Mass. But anyway, therefore, offer the little you have like the people in the desert, and God will do amazing things with it. I've often spoken about these ideas, coming from the feeding of the 5,000. I believe them with all my heart. I don't want to belittle them at all because I've preached about these 2 lessons many times over the years. But today, I'd like to do something different with you. I'd like to focus on just one verse, verse 14. 14, and offer a perspective of Jesus that might widen our relationship with him, maybe see him in a different light. The verse I'm referring to, it says that when Jesus saw that vast crowd, his heart was moved with pity for them. Now, the New American Bible translates that God had pity on his people. The New International Version says that he had compassion for them. Another said that his heart was moved with pity, and another one still said he felt sorry for them. And these different words are translations that is trying to find the equivalent of the Greek term that Matthew used, which doesn't seem to have an exact English translation without using a lot of words. Matthew used the Greek term splachnizomai, all right, and it comes from the noun splachna, which literally means bowels, internal organs. And figuratively, the Greeks use it as a way to say the gut level, a place deep within someone. So when Matthew tries to describe what happened to Jesus when he got off the boat and he saw the vast crowd, splachnizomai is the word that he used. And it's a passive voice, active and passive, or something actually doing the act versus it happening to you, passive voice, with an aorist tense, which is a Greek tense, meaning that he felt it right all at once from the depths of his being that caused him to act decisively. It's like in an instant. That's the tense that he used. Now, the English translation is like the word compassion, pity, tender, mercy, sorrow for them. That is strong. That's at a gut, deep internal level. And it welled up within him. So hopefully you get appreciation for what Jesus was experiencing and feeling. Matthew is trying to tell us. Now, in the rectory, Father Michael and I were talking about this word. Then in the conversation included Nick and the seminarian and then Father Peter. So if you've ever wondered what priests talk about in the rectory when we're all together making breakfast, here's a glimpse, right, of that. We talk about the homilies and some Greek terms. So if you're interested in that, come and join us, right? And we were talking about what it meant for Matthew to use splachnizomai. Now, Father Michael then referred it to an experience he had when he went on our parish pilgrimage, when we had the trip to Poland, and he visited Auschwitz. And we walked through the camp, and we saw the pictures and the videos, and the fences, and the gas chambers. And Father Michael spoke about how something came from deep within him, some overwhelming sadness and pity or compassion for those victims of the Holocaust. To think what humanity, this is what he said, was capable of doing to people on a large, very large scale even today. Father Michael says he never wants to walk through there again because it's so overwhelming to him with sad feelings of compassion and pity, mercy upon them. I think parents know this feeling, especially mothers, because the word splanchnizomai took me back so we're talking about my experience. It was on my second year of theology when I was in seminary, and I was hospitalized for a week. And I had to leave seminary in the middle of the semester, right before exams. And after much testing that we had to do, I was diagnosed with Crohn's. And I came home from the doctor, and we're not unfamiliar with it because my brother has it. And I came to tell my family. We were in the kitchen, and I told my mother, and in an instant, her eyes kind of welled up. And I remember seeing that in her right away. And I remember looking and seeing my mother's reaction about what was happening to me. I was like, well, it's me that have to live with this. But yet you could see she felt it. I have always loved the phrase, like having a child is like forever having your heart go walking outside, going outside your body. And she felt for me in an instant as soon as she heard the words. Now, granted, not everyone feels this deeply all the time. And some of us have been hurt so badly that we never want to feel again, because it sometimes can hurt to feel. These feelings can be so powerful and real that they can be overwhelming. Now, I say this as a thinker on the Myers-Briggs test, and as a former accountant who always was made fun of for just not, having the feeling kind of thing. I'd love to spend my time with numbers instead, which it's all right for having to, not showing or having, recognizing these deep feelings. But deep feelings of love, of compassion, of pity, of sorrow, of mercy are so important for us as human beings. And they give us a glimpse of our Creator because He gave them to us. Our faith teaches, and this Sunday's reading communicates that Jesus feels. Jesus does not just love us, but feels deeply for us, especially the lost, the lonely, the suffering, and the hurting people. Oftentimes we communicate our faith and we talk about God in a purely intellectual terms of dogma and, statements about God. And even parents will keep the conversations about God with their children on an intellectual level of arguments. Why do I have to go to Mass? Well, because, and then there's this intellectual argument that's supposed to be convincing. And today the scriptures reveal that Jesus did not just have pity. He didn't just feel sorry for us, but that feeling comes from His very being. And from His love that takes Him all the way to the cross in the greatest selfless act. St. Paul says in the second reading that nothing will separate us from the love of God. Nothing at all. Pope Benedict XVI stated that faith is far more than just an intellectual idea or a set of rules. He described Christianity and faith as a personal encounter and a love story with God. We say that God so loved the world that He created us. And in Benedict's general audience, he stated, thus the knowledge of God through faith is not only intellectual, but also vital. It is the knowledge of God love. So Jesus feeding the 5,000 and curing the sick out of great compassion and mercy and pity and love that flowed from His very being, from some place within. Know that whenever you are whatever you're experiencing today, and maybe because of broken relationships, difficult life, some suffering it's hard to find that kind of love, hard to experience it, or maybe you want to run away from kind of experiencing it. Hopefully you hear the message today that God has a deep, abiding love and compassion and mercy for His people. That's the God we need to proclaim to this world. He cares about what is going on, and it affects him on a deep gut level internal place. That is where your ability to feel as well, that's where all this comes from.